Hey people, back at the piano again. Very happy to be here. Something kind of amazing happened yesterday. Because right after I did my post, I watched a video by Sadguru, who I've talked about in this post before. And it was like he gave me the next step, like literally where I left off speaking yesterday. His video kind of took me to the next place, and I'll try and describe kind of what happened, but it felt like a good sign, because I was like, okay, something is really moving here. You know, yesterday I really felt like I was, and the last couple of days when having some time with Katie and being away, having some headspace, chance to relax, really gave me this, it kind of gave me this eyes open feeling. And it's funny because I was actually doing an eyes open meditation when we were up at the resort. And, you know, if I had to kind of summarize what came through yesterday as a result of those moments of presence, I would say that what showed up was the question of, what am I really making my life about? Am I making my life about what I know is true inwardly? Or am I making it about what my ego cares about? And so I turned on this video, right? I mean, this is literally right after I finished doing my post yesterday. I went and have the next kind of video on YouTube that popped up was Sadguru. And he tells a story about a prisoner maybe he's a prisoner who escapes, who feels like he's been wronged by the people in this town, and he becomes a murderer, and then he meets the Buddha, and the Buddha kind of converts him and changes his whole nature. There's a whole kind of like beautiful story that he tells. But the lesson that he ended up extracting from this was about it's our nature to want to expand. Everything about us is seeking expansion. And if you notice, that's also what's happening to the universe. The universe is infinitely expanding. And in that is a reflection of the universe. It's absolutely impossible for us to stop wanting to expand. It's inevitable. But then he describes two different ways of engaging with that expansion. He basically talks about, if you do this consciously, our being fuses with the absolute. It fuses with the ultimate nature of the universe. Our consciousness is one with everything. And he says, I think he said something like, we become yoga. We become, yoga as being like yoked to relinking with God, relinking with the absolute. And the other alternative is to expand unconsciously. And when we expand unconsciously, we're seeking our expansion in material things. To expand unconsciously means to have desires, and the ego's desires are just as infinite as the infinite. They will never end. They'll always go on. But the ego will keep us trapped in a cycle of more. The ego always has to have more. Doesn't matter how much power, doesn't matter how much money, doesn't matter how much prestige, doesn't matter how much recognition. Anything that the ego wants is infinitely expanding, just like the whole universe. So if we are compulsive about our behavior, about our lives, we will be driven into a cycle of more. It's inevitable. We can't stop that expansion. The only choice we have is, are we going to live that expansion on the level of the ego, or are we going to detach from that, detach from the ego, and actually identify with the part of us that's already one with that infinite expansion. Now I'm already infinite. The beautiful thing about the story that he tells is that the Buddha goes to see this murderer, basically, and the murderer says he's threatening to kill him. But the Buddha basically tells him, I'm already dead. If taking my life will fulfill you, take my life. And the murderer is totally kind of taken aback, and he doesn't know what to do with this, because he doesn't enjoy killing somebody who's already kind of saying, I'm just kind of okay with it, I'm resigned. And so they go through a series of negotiations, a series of kind of talking about this, and I'm not going to come up with the whole story, but the upshot of it is, the Buddha basically has already decided he's not identified with this material realm, and of course the murderer at that point is. And since these two opposing ways of perceiving expansion, these two opposing ways of engaging in the world, and of course ultimately this heathen murderer guy becomes a disciple and becomes converted, but it's really the juxtaposition and the sort of difference between those two approaches, one of which is, the world will satisfy me. This place, it's this realm that I want to have satisfy me. If we look for our satisfaction here in this material realm, it will never end. And that's, what kind of clarified for me was, I was talking about my own life. What am I identifying with? What am I really giving? Where am I really coming from? And as long as I'm, I asked the question in my post yesterday, how much of the ego's fantasy do I have to experience or witness or attain before I realize it's an illusion? That was my question to myself. Since I already know it's an illusion, I've already had more than enough evidence, more than enough experience, more than enough spiritual insight to teach me that. And yet, there's this part of my ego that still thinks it's going to win, that still thinks it can overcome, that still thinks it's going to maybe be the last one standing. And so So this question of, well, how am I going to expand? What form of expansion am I going to live in my life? It feels huge. It feels like that's the core question. Because how much of the ego's fantasy do I have to realize before I see that it's an illusion? The answer is there's no end. There's no limit. There's no point at which that will be more evident than it is already. It's already evident. So what am I waiting for? What actually do I think is going to happen? What actually do I think I'm going to receive that's going to make it okay to let it go? So I said yesterday was a reckoning, and when I watched that next video and when I sort of got the call for that next step, I really felt like that was a good name for the video. That was right. This is a period of really reckoning. And it feels like it's not just individual, it's not just me. This is us. This is everybody on this earth has to decide what form of expansion am I gonna live. So yeah, where I am today, folks. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. Much love. See you soon.